Hi, Honors Biology. This is Mrs. Farouk, and today I will talk about water and water properties. And this is based on your reading, pages 81 to 86 in your Lizard book. Now, when we look at water, what makes water special and why do living things depend on water? And when we go over the structure of water and its properties, it'll be clear why living things are always associated with water. And our biosphere, first of all, is composed mostly of water. And so are most animals and living things are composed of water. Now, when you look at the structure of water, it's composed of 2 hydrogens and 2 oxygens. And this orange ball in the middle represents an oxygen molecule and 2 hydrogens. Now, hydrogen and oxygen forms a polar covalent bond. Now, they share electrons, 2 electrons, because oxygen needs 2 more electrons to complete its outermost shell. Now, oxygen is not an equal sharer, so it will attract these electron molecules towards it. So that's why we call it polar covalent, because there's unequal sharing of electrons. And due to this unequal sharing of electrons, it has a partial charge. So there's a partial positive charge for the hydrogen and a partial charge, a positive charge and a partial negative charge towards the oxygen. So if you look at this animation clip, it shows a water molecule and it looks like a Mickey Mouse, an oxygen and 2 hydrogens, and so we say water has polar ends or charged ends, and this charged ends allow the water molecule to form hydrogen bonds with other water molecules. What does that mean? So the water molecule, one hydrogen, is attracted towards the other oxygen molecule of the other water molecule. So it forms these hydrogen bonds represented by these dotted lines with one water molecule with another, and this what makes water sticky, or what we say cohesion. And this is what makes water cling to other water molecules. Okay. So water is polar due to unequal sharing of electron, and this unequal sharing of electron causes water molecules to have this slight positive and negative charges. And because of these positive and negative charges, you have what's called hydrogen bonding, which is a bond of one hydrogen of one water molecule attracted to an oxygen of another water molecule, and this is what referred to as cohesion. And because of cohesion, we see water surface tension, and due to surface tension, we could see this bacillus can walk on water. And because of surface tension, you can see this water strider can, quote, walk on water. Now, water is polar, therefore water is attracted to polar or charged molecules. So when we see water in a graduate cylinder, we see that water forms this dip in the graduate cylinder, and this dip is caused because some of this water is attracted, adheres to the walls of this graduate cylinder and forms a meniscus. And this also helps because water is polar. Molecules that are polar dissolve, like sugars, proteins, and salts. Now, water sticks to water, that's cohesion, and water sticks to polar, that's adhesion. Now, when they work together, it's called capillary action. So capillary action is basically water moving up a narrow tube and moving up. And this happens in plants. And if you think about it, how can this go against gravity? And this is going against gravity because water is being pulled up due to cohesion and adhesion. And then here water is evaporated due to the sun, so the water molecules constantly need to get replaced. Now, what property of water allows living things to live in oceans and when it's really cold? Why does ice float? And we know that ice floats because what happens when water freezes, the water molecules expand, and therefore ice is less dense. And because ice is less dense, it floats. And when it floats, it forms this blanket on the top. When that happened, that kind of stabilizes the temperatures here on the bottom and allows aquatic animals to exist without being freezed over. Okay. Now, living things also depend on water due to evaporative cooling. Now, the dog pants, we sweat, and that helps us to lower our body temperature due to evaporation. Now, we say water has a high heat capacity, which means it keeps the temperature stable because it takes energy to break those hydrogen bonds. High heat capacity means the amount of energy it takes 1 gram of water to increase it by 1 degree Celsius. High heat evaporation is the amount of energy it takes to evaporate water going from liquid to gas. Because of this property, water resists temperature change. So when ocean is a large body of water, and it stabilizes the temperatures. Now, if you remember in our lab, we had 2 beakers. One beaker was a 300 ml beaker, and we were warming up about 650 mils, and we recorded the temperature. And then if you plot it on a graph, you could see the beaker with more water was much more stable in terms of temperature change than the water with a small amount in the beaker. So we call water a polar solvent. Now, you probably heard universal solvent. We should really say water is a polar solvent. Therefore, it dissolves polar solutes. So remember, like dissolves like. So what kind of things are polar? Salts are polar, certain sugars are polar, and we have certain proteins that are polar. So if it's polar, it dissolves well in water. So if you think of living things or cells, think of it as bags of solution where a lot of reactions happen. So most of living cells live in an aqueous environment or a water environment. Now, we also have, due to water properties, we have something called a pH. Now, what is a pH? A pH is a measurement of the amount of hydrogen ions in a solution. And so here there's water, and water continuously form hydronium ion and hydroxide ion. Or you could think, you'll also hear a word acid versus base. And one definition of acid is a hydrogen donor, and base is a hydrogen acceptor. So if you look at the scale, there's a 10-fold difference, say, between 1 and 2. So as you go lower on a pH scale, you have more concentration of hydrogen ions. As you go higher, you have a higher concentration of hydroxide ions, but lower concentration of hydrogen ions. And when something is neutral, like pure water, where hydrogen ions and hydroxide ions are in equal concentration. And notice this bracket, this is a symbol for concentration. So water is polar, and that because it's polar, it's cohesive, it's adhesive, and that cohesion allows water to have surface tension, stabilizes temperature, has high heat capacity, and water ice floats when water freezes. So these are all important properties of water that allows life to exist.